what we heard from people about this movie before we saw it, and I think also based on some of the marketing, it feels like it was going to be a very divisive movie. Like, there are going to be people out there that absolutely fucking love it, and there are going to be some people that despise it. I think I am going to find myself in the minority of, I didn't really like it. I think it's a slightly below average movie, like just as a whole. And it just didn't do it for me. But I don't despise the entire thing, I suppose. Go ahead.
But I mean, the thing is, this is supposed to set the tone for the James Gunn universe. So if this is what to expect on movies moving forward, and then the certain amount of people that probably don't like this movie are not going to enjoy this whole universe that they're planning.
There's a higher bar for this.
Right.
There's a much higher bar for this because of the character, because it's the first movie in your rebooted universe, because of all this stuff.
Yes.
If a movie like this comes out, to be honest, it's kind of fucking similar to like a Shazam movie. Not even gonna lie, that's kind of how it feels. It feels like a Shazam movie in ways, and that's fine to throw in there to have something else within your diet for all these different movies. It's fine to have a random Ant-Man and the Wasp 2 when you have like a bunch of other movies out there. This is a very important movie, and it does not meet the threshold for what this movie should have been. Look, I can be very underwhelmed by. Actually, I think in my review I said, look, I wasn't overwhelmed, I wasn't underwhelmed, I was whelmed, because it's kind of what I expected when I went into the movie. If I had to give it a score out of 10, it'd probably be in the 4, maybe 4.5, but probably 4 range, and that is not good enough.
That's below mid. Woo.
I think mid can look. I don't think that mid has to just be just 5 out of 10. It is on the low scale for mid. Shouldn't we consider mid 4 to 6?
Yeah, maybe. I can see where you're going with that.
Something like that. But let's see how what's the excitement level for Superman? How is this massive marketing push? All of the stuff they've done to get PR and good glowing reviews with the influencers going there to the premiere, like all that shit. How does it look for Superman and what we can expect at the box office? And here are some of the first official big projections for this, going into the opening weekend. Superman, the first movie in James Gunn and Peter Safran's revamped DC universe to fly around the world to at least $200 million plus.
Ooh.
They better hope it is big, big, big on the plus side of that. Because if this movie opens on the low end of it, if it opens to 200 million, 205 million, they are in for a fucking world of hurt. Even 250 million, you have reason to be concerned because you'd need a super great hold, with some competition coming up and things like that. They better hope it's on the high end of their 200 million plus thing that they're talking about here. Superman, the first movie in Peter Safran and James Gunn's revamped DC Studios Phase 1 labeled Gods and Monsters is opening this weekend. Talk about pressure from the main aorta Warner Brothers Motion Picture Group, a la the setup of Marvel and Disney. Even more amazing and audacious here, Gunn bet on himself. After a rapturous premiere in Hollywood and reviews morning at 85% certified fresh, hopefully there's no reason for anyone on the Burbank lot to sweat.
What?
Studio sources tell us Superman will see at least a $200 million global start, split evenly between domestic and overseas. So they're thinking about 100 million domestic, 100 million overseas. If those numbers end up being true, they should be fucking panicking right now. Because, you know what had around a $200 million debut with similar numbers like that?
Captain America, baby! Brave New World. Look at that. Smashes box office. Bro, if Superman does as bad as Captain America, sorry. That is, oh my God. That is going to be awful. Well, at least our prediction of dinosaurs ruling July is holding firm, man. It's holding firm. Scarlett Johansson is going to take on Superman and the Fantastic Four and kick their butts. Unbelievable.
Yeah,
all right with that.
Girl boss Scarlett Johansson. And look, I personally think that this is low. And I think maybe intentionally so. I personally think that the number is going to be closer to that $120, $130 million domestic. But the international one might be spot on with $100 million. Even that should be incredibly fucking concerning for this movie. If you open, I don't know, 20% higher, 30% higher, or something than Captain America: Brave New World, that is a movie that ended with $400 million at the box office. Okay, this needs to do much better than that. Much better than that. And when you start to look, here are some other updates and projections. This is from Box Office Pro. They're predicting 115, 135 million. I do think that's going to be closer to the realm of where this thing ends. But we're talking about something. If it does open in that range, it's not going to beat Man of Steel's opening weekend from 12 years ago, not adjusted for inflation.
I wonder what Henry Cavill's feeling right now.
And when you look around, right, when you look around internationally, because everything's open on Wednesday there, you get some data a day early because of the time difference and stuff like that. Right now, they are tracking for around 100 million internationally. It's overperforming in like South America and places like that, but it's underperforming in places like Asia and in some places in Europe. Just look at through some of these in the comparisons. Superman also kicked off its rollout in Europe. In Italy, the film starring David Corenswet opened, grossing a modest $515,000 on Wednesday opening day. Versus Captain America 4, $531,000, and Thunderbolts $639,000.
Oh my goodness.
It's tracking behind Captain America and Thunderbolts in Italy. It's beating The Flash and Black Adam, but it's significantly below Joker 2 and The Batman. France right here. Let's see how it's doing in France. Superman debuts taking the #1 away from Jurassic World Rebirth. $1.2 million on opening day. And this is compared to Minecraft movie, Jurassic World Rebirth, Final Reckoning, Lilo and Stitch, obviously outperformed it. Now, here are its comparisons to, say, The Flash. Doing about 50% better than The Flash, on par with Joker, but about half as much as The Batman. What about over in China? It's been very slow in China so far. They're opening up some more theaters. We'll see how it performs in China overall. But in Korea, we do have some opening numbers as well. 691,000, right on par with Thunderbolts opening and under Man of Steel's 1 million. Even so, it's the third biggest DC opening day for DC post-COVID. And here are the numbers and comparisons for that. It's basically right on par with The Flash, a little bit above Black Adam, but trailing significantly behind Joker, and The Batman almost made 3 times as much as it on its opening day. So these are the things that we're looking at here. It needs to catch fire. And we'll see. There's a long weekend to go. Thursday, big day, obviously, that they're looking for in the weekend. I will say this. I said during my review, I think that families are going to enjoy this film. And maybe that could result in more walk-up business than we typically see for some of these movies, with a lot of people pre-ordering their stuff. Like, maybe, right? We do see that from family movies like Minecraft, Lilo and Stitch, whatever it might be. You typically have a slightly more walk-up business than these big superhero tent poles. But I'm telling you right now, dude, I believe it's going to open to 120, 130 here, and maybe that $100 million internationally. Even if that, like a $220 million opening, they should be panicking. There's a reason James Gunn came out a couple days ago and was like, people saying it needs to make $700 million to be successful. That's just ridiculous.
That's cope.
They were setting the stage because they know these internal tracking numbers. They know this shit, right? They were setting the stage to have to make excuses. You wouldn't be saying something like that if you felt confident that this is going to be an $8 or $900 million or $1 billion movie. You say that when you think it's going to underperform to lower people's expectations and to have this thing to play off of. If it doesn't surge over this weekend, if there's not a huge surge that we see from good word of mouth or whatever, they should be in panic mode. Like, because holy fuck.
Yeah, it might adjust their whole James Gunn universe,
Yeah, and for perspective, Jurassic World Rebirth opened to $320 million globally. A good movie to also keep an eye on would be something like Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Now, Guardians of the Galaxy 3 did not have a overly impressive domestic opening weekend, if you remember. Made like $118 million, but it did incredibly well internationally, right? $289 million globally, almost a $300 million global opening weekend for Guardians of the Galaxy. that had very good word of mouth and had great holds, and I think ended up at $850 million at the box office. But this is one of the reasons those international numbers are very important to these superhero movies. And certainly, James Gunn directed Guardians of the Galaxy 3. If you have a $118 million opening for Superman, I think it's going to be very, very low and very disappointing for them. It has a possibility to have a good hold. I don't think you'll see the same exact thing. And you've got Fantastic Four coming in 2 weeks as well. So it's going to have 2 weeks, kind of on its own without anything big. But after that, I feel like Fantastic Four is going to significantly eat into it. And maybe still some people hanging around watching Jurassic World Rebirth during this time too.
That's true. Interesting.